At 77 years old, Joe Walsh surprised the music world by opening up about Don Henley in a way he never had before. For decades, fans viewed them simply as bandmates in the Eagles, collaborators responsible for some of rock's most enduring songs. But beneath the harmonies and polished performances existed a far more complicated relationship. There were disagreements that simmered for years, emotions left unspoken, and tensions that never fully disappeared. When Walsh finally chose to speak candidly, it wasn't just nostalgia talking. It was reflection born of time, survival, and perspective. What motivated him to reveal these truths after so long remains part of the intrigue, but the story behind their partnership reveals far more than fame ever could. The roots of their creative friction stretch back to 1975. That year, Walsh entered the studio with a guitar riff that crackled with raw intensity, the musical equivalent of speeding down an open highway. That riff would eventually become the backbone of Life in the Fast Lane, one of the standout tracks from the landmark album Hotel California. Yet the song's path to greatness was anything but smooth. Don Henley, the Eagles' principal vocalist and one of the band's key creative architects, initially rejected the idea. In a 2013 interview with Rolling Stone, Walsh remembered Henley listening carefully before responding bluntly that the riff felt too wild and didn't align with the Eagles' established sound. What followed were weeks of debate and creative tension. Walsh envisioned the track as unapologetically bold. His style leaned toward spontaneity and instinct, and at the time his personal life reflected that same reckless energy. In the 2013 documentary History of the Eagles, he explained that his goal was simple. He wanted the guitar to ignite adrenaline in listeners. Henley, however, heard something different in the riff. Rather than just a high-energy rock track, he believed it could anchor a deeper story. He wanted the music to carry a message, to serve as a warning about excess and the dangerous allure of wealth and fame. Glenn Frey, co-founder of the Eagles, stepped in as mediator. Walsh later recalled Frey urging Henley to let the riff breathe, assuring him that Walsh's instinct was worth trusting before layering in lyrical depth. Eventually, Henley relented. Drawing inspiration from the band's own experiences in the 1970s, constant parties, drug use, and the dizzying seduction of celebrity, he crafted lyrics that transformed the song into a sharp commentary on the very lifestyle they were living. The finished track blended Walsh's roaring guitar with Henley's urgent vocals, creating something explosive yet meaningful. Even after the song was completed, their differences remained evident. During a 2016 Sirius XM interview, Walsh laughed as he described how Henley asked him to smooth out the guitar solo to better match the Eagles' refined image. Walsh agreed publicly, but privately slipped in a few edgier notes. Audiences responded enthusiastically, and Walsh admitted he felt a quiet satisfaction in preserving his individuality. That interplay between discipline and defiance became a defining feature of their partnership. Their contrasting personalities, rather than weakening the band, often fueled its strongest moments. Yet the story of Walsh and Henley extends beyond studio clashes. In the early 1990s, Walsh faced one of the darkest periods of his life. Addiction consumed him, threatening not only his career, but his survival. Alcohol and drugs distanced him from the stage and from the people who once stood beside him. At that lowest point, Henley, often perceived as rigid or demanding, demonstrated a deeper loyalty. In a 2017 interview with the Washington Post, Walsh acknowledged that both Henley and Glenn Frey played critical roles in saving him. Without their intervention, he admitted he might not have survived. When the Eagles prepared for their hell freezes over reunion tour in 1994, Henley and Frey confronted Walsh directly. In History of the Eagles, Walsh described being summoned to a Los Angeles hotel, where Henley delivered an uncompromising message. Sobriety was non-negotiable. If Walsh wanted to remain in the band, he had to get clean. The ultimatum was stern but rooted in care. Henley went beyond words, personally accompanying Walsh to a rehabilitation center in Arizona. Recovery was grueling, but Henley maintained contact, offering support while insisting the effort ultimately had to come from Walsh himself. In a 2016 CBS This Morning appearance, Walsh recalled Henley's steady reminders that true change required personal commitment. Upon completing treatment, Walsh found a new Fender Telecaster waiting for him, accompanied by a handwritten note from Henley welcoming him back and encouraging him to play like himself again. Walsh has said that reading those words moved him to tears. The gesture revealed a side of Henley many outsiders never saw. As Glenn Frey once noted, Henley's toughness stemmed from genuine concern. For Walsh, that act of loyalty remains unforgettable. Another profound test of their bond came on January 18, 2016, when Glenn Frey passed away. The loss shook the Eagles to their core. Henley, who had shared a decades-long partnership with Frey, struggled privately with grief. Walsh later described seeing Henley sitting alone in the studio, listening to Desperado with tearful eyes. At first, Henley believed the band should end. Without Frey, he felt the Eagles would be hollow. During a meeting at his Los Angeles home, he expressed to Walsh and Timothy B. Schmidt that continuing without Glenn felt impossible. Ultimately, it was Walsh and Schmidt who persuaded him to reconsider. They suggested inviting Frey's son, Deacon Frey, to join the band as a tribute and continuation of his father's legacy. In the updated history of the Eagles documentary, Walsh remembered telling Henley that Glenn would have wanted the music to carry on. After thoughtful silence, Henley agreed. Before their first performance with Deacon at Classic West in 2017, Henley privately told Walsh they had to honor Glenn by giving their absolute best. That sense of responsibility shaped every rehearsal and performance that followed. Their history, however, also includes explosive moments. In 1980, mounting tensions led to the Eagles' breakup. During a turbulent concert in Long Beach, California, tempers flared on stage. Walsh later admitted he was intoxicated and made ill-timed jokes, while Henley and Frey argued. The fallout was severe. Henley accused Walsh of undermining the band, particularly through careless comments to the press. Walsh later acknowledged that he often spoke recklessly, even comparing the band to a divorcing family in interviews. Those remarks angered Henley, who felt the group's image was at risk. Still, Walsh has defended Henley's frustration, recognizing the immense pressure he carried during the height of the Eagles' fame. Rumors also surrounded both men due to their separate relationships with Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac. Walsh clarified in a 2019 Classic Rock interview that he began dating Nicks in 1983, long after her relationship with Henley had ended. He dismissed the idea of rivalry, explaining that Henley rarely discussed personal matters. According to Timothy B. Schmidt, Henley had been deeply affected by his split with Nicks in the late 1970s. Walsh respected those boundaries and insisted there was never animosity between them over her. Henley's role within the Eagles extended far beyond singing. During the recording of The Long Run in 1979, he pushed the band relentlessly, obsessing over details in pursuit of perfection. Walsh has described Henley spending hours refining a single lyric or melody. In shaping Heartache Tonight, Henley balanced Walsh's energetic musical instincts with emotional nuance, helping transform the song into a major success. Walsh has acknowledged that without Henley's influence, many tracks might have lacked depth. Henley also protected the band's integrity during its hiatus. He declined lucrative reunion offers in the years following the 1980 breakup, insisting that the Eagles should reunite only for meaningful reasons, not financial gain. When they finally did return with Hell Freezes over in 1994, it was on their own terms. Even in rehearsals for later tours, Henley demanded excellence, repeating songs until harmonies were flawless. Former member Don Felder once remarked that Henley consistently set a high standard and refused to let the Eagles become ordinary. Today, both musicians continue to shape their legacies. Walsh, sober for over 3 decades, resides in Los Angeles with his wife Marjorie Bach, whom he married in 2008. He still performs with the Eagles on shorter tours and remains active in charitable efforts, particularly through Vets Aid, which supports homeless veterans and has raised millions, including during a 2023 concert in San Diego. He also maintains his lifelong passion for amateur radio. Henley, living in Dallas, Texas, with his wife Sharon Summerall and their 3 grown children, keeps a more private profile. Married since 1995, he balances Eagles' commitments with selective solo performances, including material from his 2015 album Cass County. Through the Walden Woods Project, which he co-founded, Henley works to preserve historic land in Massachusetts and promote environmental awareness and music education. In a 2022 interview with The Guardian, he expressed his desire to leave a better world for his children. In the end, the story of Joe Walsh and Don Henley is not simply about music. It is about conflict that forged creativity, discipline that counterbalanced chaos, and loyalty that endured hardship. Their partnership has been marked by disagreement, redemption, grief, and mutual respect. Through it all, they have proven that even the most complicated bonds can produce art that stands the test of time. Make sure to subscribe for more untold stories, rare insights, and exclusive deep dives into the legends who shaped rock history.